Hello everybody, it's all off at Ludlow, as they say in Spanish football. Look, we'll start with the front of one of the Catalan sports papers, Mundo Deportivo. Their pillaging of the La Vanguardia interview with Xavi, where he lambasts Joan Laporta and points out that the re-signing of Leo Messi was done before Joan Laporta backed out of it and pushed the signing away. Xavi angry and pointing the finger at Laporta's management in secret of the club, saying he'll never go back, not trying to win his position back, but backing Victor Font. It's come too soon for the front page of Mundo Deportivo, who talk about the hopes of Barcelona at St James's Park on Tuesday night, resting on a trident of players, Lamine Yamal, Pedri and Joan Garcia. Why wouldn't they say that, given what we're about to talk about in terms of how they played at San Mamés against Athletic, Champions League challenge, Camavinga pictured on the front. His mouth infection and wisdom tooth extraction seems to have brought wisdom into his play, because he's now vital, according to Diario AS. Marca go a little bit giddy, I think, in saying the return of Mbappe's back, which they mean in terms of back from Paris, back from jogging around talking to other doctors, so that he can be sure that the Real Madrid doctor's got it. Yeah, okay, it's too medical, I know. It's an episode of Dr. Kildare. But nonetheless, he's back in training. Couple of nights ahead of Manchester City coming to Santiago Bernabeu for the 11th time in 6 years, 11th meeting between two clubs in the two stadiums in 6 years. So, before the Champions League subsumes, gobbles us all up again, greetings from Spain to you, the football fans. We have 27 goals in 9 matches for you today, and it's been a busker of a week 27. We've got a Pele imitator, we've got a Messi imitator, we've got French magic, French tickling magic. Lovely Lamine goal action again, with the 18-year-old beating even more Messi and Cristiano landmarks. Plus, we've got Lamine keeping the champions top. There's Mestalla madness. There's a 7-nation army, Atletico against Real Sociedad. And one of my favourite matches of the entire season, when Big Beast met Big Beast at El Sadar. Great to have you all with us. On with the show. Week 27 started on Friday night with Celta 1, Real Madrid 2. I think Real Madrid thought they'd struck a mortal blow to Barcelona in the title chase with this anything you can do, we can do better victory over the Sky Blues. Why do I say that? Well, Celta won 2-0 at the Bernabeu earlier in the season, meaning in reality if the two teams finish top equal, then it'll be Celta who'll be the title winners, because they've got the Spain's famous head-to-head advantage. Although it would take several dozen major miracles for that to actually take place, whether it be Celta or indeed Madrid winning the title. And that win by Celta 2-0 in the Casablanca was garnished with a 93rd minute goal from Willy Svedberg. Los Blancos responded here at Balaidos with a deflected 94th minute winner from Valverde, bumping off a couple of players to wild celebrations, partly because a win is a win right now for this squad, which is playing a little bit in terms of beautiful football, like football dyslexics, but partly too because they calculated, and nearly correctly, that Liga leading Barcelona might well drop points at San Mamés against Athletic Club on the Sunday night. There was other plus points for Arbeloa other than the win. For example, Thiago Pitarch. He said, look, in the press conference I mentioned it, I'm going to say it again. I think we have to give a lot of credit to what Thiago Pitarch did today once again. With his personality, his effort, his ability to press once, twice, 3, 4 times in a row, how he wants the ball, how he doesn't lose it when he's under pressure, how he always tries to find the best option. He's a footballer who passes and moves, who makes himself available. To attack this kind of defence like Celta, we need players as dynamic as Thiago, who are capable of making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 runs off the ball, even if they don't receive the pass. I think we have to highlight the great game that Thiago played, how Cesar Palacios came on and impacted again, how Manuel Angel came on with that interception that he made, how Gonzalo Garcia came on and impacted too. I think Arbeloa said we've got a youth system that we have to value more. that we have to give more importance to. Obviously, it's Real Madrid. The best footballers in the world come here, but we have very high quality academy footballers, and it's great news. What a great game everybody played today, said Arbeloa. But I didn't see anything for City to lose sleep over, and given how Pep's team is playing, this looks like pushing on an open door for Manchester City when they face Madrid at the Bernabeu on Wednesday night. I'll be there. Join me. We'll assess the game post-match. It's for socios only. The description is there. Join up. For me, I liked what Geraldo said. He was asked if Celta had gone to sleep for the goal, the first goal from Joan. He said, look, I couldn't put it any better. I don't know how to describe the action without swearing. I said, I shit upon it's football. We're going through a rough patch. Madrid move the ball out quickly. We don't adjust properly. We don't react quickly enough. It's got nothing to do with the goal, similar goal that we conceded the other day, but it's yet another set piece that we've conceded at, and I don't like this. We've been playing really well until these last two games, and we need to get back to that. Perhaps easier said than done, Claudio. Which brings us to the champions. And although there were many better matches than the 1-0 win by Barcelona at Sant Mamés over Athletic, let's go there because it's so impactful for what happens at the top of the league and what happens when Barcelona go to Newcastle on Tuesday. This was a shit match. Look, Flick afterwards said Pedri's influence when he came on and his management on the pitch. The big deal is that Pedri makes all my players better. And that's a really great tendency to have. He's a footballer who changes games and connects well with everybody. For example, said Flick, I think Dani Olmo played much better in the second half than the first half. So you can see Pedri's impact and how well they connect. Things are different when Pedri's on the pitch. But in the end, the most important thing is everybody in my team is fighting. Also, today, Flick said, we defended as a unit. We kept another clean sheet, which is very important indeed. Lamine has now scored 50 club goals well over a year more quickly than Leo Messi, and has scored 50 club goals well over 2 years earlier than Cristiano Ronaldo did at the identical stage in his career. Now, Flick, guys, if you haven't seen the goal, then you need to go and find it. Pedri cutting in from the left, Fermin dragging players into the centre, Lamine walking onto the ball from the left wing, a tiny readjustment, Adama falling over and top corner. Gorgeous, gorgeous goal against who's going to be his World Cup teammate, having won the European Championships together, Unai Simon. It's a wonderful goal. And post-match, Flick was asked about whether he's got any advice for Lamine. He said, for Lamine? Well, I think he didn't have his best game today, but you can see how important he is to us. He decides matches. And when he's got space, he's capable of scoring any kind of goal. He's practiced this kind of situation, bending the ball, keeper top right, a lot. And it's good to have him at this level where he can decide the game with a single action. There was a bit of controversy, but Valverde, the Athletic manager, tried to dampen that down. There was a moment when Iñaki Williams is running through, Kubarsi is behind him, and Iñaki Williams and Kubarsi really just get tangled. Kubarsi's not looking at Iñaki Williams, there's no foul meant, but the argument was, from the Athletic reporters, was the team leader, was the centre forward, he played centre forward in the night, was Williams going to be through on his own? Valverde was like, it's a yellow card. John Garcia was going to get there. I see every decision in our favour. This is something he mentioned a couple of weeks ago, do you remember? He said, every time I'm asked, I think the foul, the referee decision should go our way. But it did. It wasn't a red. Iñaki Williams wasn't going to get there first ahead of the goalkeeper. Let's move on. I really like that. I really like that. Valverde was quite pleased with his team. He said, look, we've played a couple of teams, La Real and now Barcelona, who aren't creating a big number of chances against us. There aren't heaps of goal opportunities going against us. But we have to combine being able to do that with being clinical in front of goals. They've got a massive problem. Nico Williams sat the game out again. They're not scoring enough. It really was an ugly game where Athletic were just intent on asphyxiating Barcelona, which is entirely legitimate. Not a word of criticism from me. They're not on form. They were tired after the semi-final defeat. They did the best they could, and they damn near got a point or three. Pedri at the end said, Athletic gave everything. He said, I respect how they press us. They're difficult to beat at San Mamés. Therefore, the 3 points, said Pedri, are exceptionally important. He said, but we didn't move the ball well. We didn't move the ball wide well. We've got so much to improve before Tuesday night. Not a lot of time to do it. Let's see what the Champions League bring, because most Spanish clubs, and Barcelona at Chelsea, for example, this season, the Premier League clubs have looked bigger, faster, nastier, more dynamic, more intense. Even though Barcelona are the only Spanish team to beat an English team this season, it wasn't easy, and there were times when Newcastle looked like they were going to win during the league stage. What happens on Tuesday night? Let's wait and see. This was a beauty of a game. Atleti 3, La Real 2. The great privilege of co-commentating on it with the mighty interceptor, Pete Jensen. And this was where the Seven Nations clue came from, because the 5 goals were created or scored by a Norwegian, a Uruguayan, an Argentinian, a Spaniard, a Croatian, an Italian, and a Frenchman. That's 7. Magnificent, eh? But the French magic was, of course, Griezmann's back heel. Before the match, Mathieu Alemán, the big chief at Atleti, said he's not going anywhere. We've got 2.5 years of contract left. Orlando can want him all they want, but he's staying. Said Alemán, we wait and see. Spurs, you should be regretting that, because Griezmann's little impact when he came on, more than a cameo, but most particularly, he's running right in the penalty area, back heels it, and Nico gets the chance to score Atleti's second. It's absolutely beautiful. It's inventive. It's something that epitomises what Griezmann has become. Not just the wise old man of Atleti, but somebody who gives them football, somebody who gives them the power of dreaming. Irrespective of whether you think they're going to beat Spurs and then beat Newcastle or Barcelona in the Champions League, irrespective of whether you think they're going to La Cartuja on April 18th and going to beat La Real to win the Cup, Griezmann's worth watching. During his time at Atleti, and he's now the 4th all-time appearance maker, and I think highest scorer for Atleti too, there have been the occasional dips, but not now. Not now. He's playing absolutely wonderfully. He was Atleti's best man in both the games against Barcelona, eliminating them from the Copa del Rey, and he just made the big difference here against La Real. What else stands out? Rino Matarazzo has done absolutely beautifully since he came in. He previously only lost 1 match, which was against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Here, his team eventually waged war, but it was so strange to see him leaving out Guedes, Oyarzabal, Turientes, Gorostegui, Bryce Mendes, and putting out a team whereby, frankly, Yangel Herrera was simply awful. Now, the New Jersey coach kept playing him and playing him throughout the match when he could have been hoiked before half-time, which must be about, we'll settle for losing this if we have to, but I want Yangel match fit. I want him to be putting in the kilometres. Fine, okay, there's a strategy about the decision-making, but the Venezuelan that's the worst game I've ever seen him play. Beyond that, Oscarson was completely ineffectual, and that worries you a little bit, because you don't want a footballer who was averaging, a goal every 57 minutes in a Liga, coming on for very short cameos, to be categorised as an impact man only, a super sub only. He's got to carry the weight occasionally of giving Oyarzabal a break. There were wonderful goals here, and of the Seven Nation goal and assists, Sorlot's to start with, Nico's header for the winner, Oyarzabal's cannon, Soler's cannon, brilliant game of football, absolutely top class goals. If there is a game across Europe, or was over the last weekend, where you get better than these 5 goals, point it out to me. I'll be trying to watch it. Look, I mentioned before, become a subscriber means that you support us. We can keep going beyond this next year. It's £3.99 a month. We'll bring you entertainment. We'll bring you direct experiences from games, from press conferences, from interviews. Pete Jensen, Jamie, for example, Jamie Easton was at San Mamés at the weekend. He brought you the preview on Saturday afternoon directly from the stadium. We're going to be linking up regularly, Jamie, Pete and I'll be at the Bernabeu on Wednesday night for Real Madrid City. We'll bring you first-hand stuff. It's 30 quid for an entire calendar year. Become a socio. Please join us. It's very simple to do. It's pretty cheap to do, and we need you. Osasuna 2, Mallorca 2 was another game that I worked upon. Huge enjoyment again. Last week, Di Michelis, the new coach, the Argentinian, was warbling on about si se puede, yes we can, but this was a case of yes we could have. It was a battle of the bombers. Murici is one of them, got his 18th goal. Budimir is the other, got his 13th goal. Only one assist between these two big beasts. They don't do assists, they just score. But they score absolute beauties. Mallorca ran the game. Virgili on the bench, they played 4-4-2. That caught Osasuna out. More about that in a second. This was a match where Mallorca, in some instances, dominated the play, in the other instance, the second goal from Ricci, where they played on the break, Darder's lovely pass. Horrible things happened to them. They dropped their level. They became encamped in their own third. They got a red card, which I think was outright wrong. Jan Virgili did a stupid thing, lunged in, barely any contact. Hernandez, HH for help, the referee's having a stinker. HH gave a direct red. I think that was wildly wrong. Nonetheless, Virgili going to be suspended now, down to 10 men. And at that point, Osasuna had their dander up. Everybody was roaring. The stadium was, yes, we can this time. And they were on the charge. And what happened was, they went down to 10 men when Raul Garcia stamped on Samu Costa. Now, I don't like Samu Costa's antics very much indeed, but even I wouldn't have given a challenge like that. It took HH, help, the referee's having a stinker, VAR to intervene to reveal to him that that stamp high up above Costa's ankle meant a red card from Raul Garcia. Kiki Barca, who'd been having an absolute stinker and looked like he needed a white stick to find the goals, immediately scored from a Victor Munoz cross, and then the equaliser. Budimir, so gorgeous, really good from the referee this time. A brilliant advantage played when Samu Costa tried to smash down Moy Gomez. The ball rebounded into the path of the Croatian striker. His goal was ecstasy. The stadium was boiling hot. Lisci, the Italian coach of Osasuna, said, in the first half, I think that, well, their system of play, we obviously hadn't expected them to use because Di Michelis is new. And when they gave us the lineup, we figured out, but of course we hadn't been able to work on it during the week. It obviously threw us off because it's a system, says Lisci, that nobody in Spain currently uses. Really? Anyway, so it's a different system that needs to be prepared for properly, and we weren't able to do that. That said, I didn't think Mallorca created many chances, said Lisci, but of course, it's a bit like what happened against Valencia. In the end, either we go into survival mode 2, or when the matches are ugly or get complicated for any reason, things are going to fall towards the team which is in survival mode and fights for every loose ball. So we'd been losing all the second balls, playing at a slow pace. When we went into survival mode, we worked, we fought, we got there in the end. Highlight of the game was the beautiful goal assist from Sergio Herrera, Osasuna goalkeeper, for Vedat Murici, coming out to a long ball outside his box, can't catch it, little glancing header straight onto the chest of the Kosovan. The ball bounces in. Murici doesn't even bother chasing it because he knows it's going in. Funny, Lisci said, I feel a wee bit sorry for Mallorca. That's 2 games this season where they've led us 2-0 and twice we pegged them back to 2-2. Very, very unusual here. One manager saying he feels sorry for the other club or the other team. Di Michelis said that what he'd wanted to do was to flood the midfield, make it ultra strong. He said he thought he saw warriors out there. He's comfortable with the level of aggression that they produced. It was a changed performance. There was nothing recognisable about Mallorca from the last few weeks under poor old Arrasate. Di Michelis said we put the foot in, we won tackles, we were a bit nasty, the full-backs were involved. And Di Michelis said something key. Analysing the team in the videos of the last few weeks, I saw they were playing too deep, too many passes went backwards. Today, meaning Saturday, we played further forward on the pitch. The passes went forward. Di Michelis said, I liked it. Okay, let's skip through this one. Decent game, Villarreal 2-1 against Elche. Standout, probably two things. Tajon Buchanan, Canadian winger, really nice dribble, step over, goal into top left-hand corner. Powerful, really powerful from Buchanan, doesn't score enough. Mourinho then, no, not the special ones. Mourinho playing like Mikatadze. You have to look at it twice to work out. That's not Mikatadze, who's in the box, holding the ball, touch beautiful as he's on the move and scoring an absolutely wonderful goal. Late hope for Elche when Andre Silva made it 2-1. But not a lot to report about that. For the Girona 1-1 Levante, Espi, the local boy, scores again. At the beginning of this season, his coach Calleja said, listen, he's a skinny pipe cleaner of a lad, we've got to build him up. They have done, that's now 4 for the season for the 20-year-old, 3 in the last 2 games. They don't, I think, have many hopes of survival, but if they are to do it, then SP's goal flurry at 20, remember, may be their only route. The how the fuck moment of the weekend, I think, was how the fuck did the referee allow Girona's equalising goal? Just to describe it, Roca, who's a lovely young player, dances in from the left, cuts across the penalty area, has a shot, there's a deflection. But Vanat, his number 9, Girona's Ukrainian striker, is bang in front of Matty Ryan. He's wildly offside. There's no way he doesn't distract him. It goes to VAR, and presumably because the ball is deflected, I don't know, they give the goal. Vanat is offside, patently interfering with play. The goal cannot stand. But it does. Yeah, would be a referee. Do I enjoy going studs in on referees? No, I absolutely don't. Just a shit decision, and poor old Matty Ryan, poor old Levante. So look, Getafe 2, Betis 0. I've taken a decision here. I'm going to cut loose on this. After the match, Bordalas was asked about the quality of signings they brought in with Vasquez and Satriano, and Romero to a degree. He said, we were aiming for specifically what we've got because the sporting director, Tony Munoz, and all my coaches, we're on the same page. We understand football in the same way, as does our president. We were all in complete agreement about what we were looking for and who to bring in. It's true that particularly Vasquez and Satriano said, this scumbag, pantomime villain, hadn't been playing a lot of games. They had to reinvent themselves with us. We didn't have a lot of money, so we took them on loan. They were practically unexposed to football this season with their 2 clubs, but they've come with enthusiasm. The dressing room has welcomed them with open arms, and they've seen that this is a real family. This is again Bordalas speaking, and they've come with they've brought tremendous excitement. They're giving their all, just like their teammates, and they know that this is a club where we have to compete at the highest level if we want to be close to winning. So, fine. The truth of it is that Satriano's goal last week at Madrid is astonishing. His finish this week against Betis, very, very good indeed. So I'll report them, but celebrate them? No, absolutely no fucking chance. There's a tsunami of cheating going on at this version of Getafe. The highlight this week would be, for example, immediately before Kiko Feminia's goal, Vasquez falls over his own feet, on his own in the penalty area as the ball's coming in from the left, screaming and shouting, clutching his leg, just like week in, week out. Getafe players will scream and shout and clutch their face when they've not been touched. It's cheating. And what happens is when Feminia, the ball reaches him and he scores, Vasquez is already leaping up and down like fucking Lazarus because, I can't be clearer about this, he was cheating. Saying things like this isn't to everybody's taste, but it's our job to be honest about this. I can imagine that eventually this can cost me work with La Liga. They don't like words like that being associated with their clubs. Now, I'm on my own time at the moment, and I believe in what I was taught in my training in journalism. This is cheating. There's cheating every week. And for my taste, it's taking away from the fact that what Bordalas is doing in a coaching sense, where the club is in La Liga, given the resources, all of those are laudable, applaudable. if it weren't for the cheating. Okay, there was fighting amongst the fans too, and the game had to be stopped for a little while. It might have been Betis fans fighting to try and get out of the stadium. Sevilla against Rayo co-commentated on that. The fans went absolutely mad with what's called a pañolada. It used to be waving a white hanky, demonstrating against the club, and they got right behind the team. The atmosphere at the Nervion was fabulous, and so was Pacho Espino's goal. This is the Messi imitator that I talked about. A left-footed dig where he's not looking at the goal, he's head down at the ball, he's way over to left, he uses his left foot to chop it right across, up and over the goalkeeper. Odysseus Lacademos can't have known this was coming. He's maybe a pace too far out, but the goal is very similar to one that Messi scored at Betis 8 or 9 years ago, where you just can't imagine there's any angle, and the pictures in Messi's head we're accustomed to saying, oh my goodness. With Espino, much less so, but for a brief moment he thought he was Messi, and he scored one of the goals of the season. One of the reasons I nicked through the Villarreal game is to give this a little bit of time. Valencia 3, Alaves 2. This was mental. This was the return of Quique Sanchez Flores, who'd played nearly 300 games for Valencia. His godfather, Alfredo Di Stefano, had coached at Valencia. He was wildly associated with his club because after his near 300 games, he abandoned them, having won the Segunda Division with Valencia in the late 80s. He eventually ended up at Real Madrid, where his dad had played and won the league, and where he won the league, Quique Sanchez Flores as a fullback. But he's loved at Valencia, partially for the reason that he was also a coach there up till I think 2008. Now, since 2008, this is the 5th different club that Quique Sanchez Flores has brought back to Mestalla as rivals. Since leaving in 2008, that means Atleti, Getafe, Sevilla, Espanyol, and now, of course, Alaves. And when the speaker, as they're called, announced the teams, thanks very much, it's very good, every fucking weekend, it's got to be some kind of plot against us all. When the speaker announced who the rivals were, he said, a special welcome for Quique Sanchez Flores, and the normally grumpy, aggressive, snarling Mestalla went into a spate of worship. They love him. They loved having him back. They didn't love the fact that his team, Alaves, started better, went 1-0 up from a penalty kick, played better football, really played better football. And for long spells, although Mestalla is now full, they're on a decent run of avoiding defeat, they're on a decent run of moving away from the absolute edge of the relegation battle. The fans weren't happy. There were cries of Corbaran out, the coach. There were constant complaints about Meriton, the group that owns the club. But Valencia weren't listening. The team wasn't listening. They fought and they worked. And yet it got to minute 89. It's 11v11. Boye scored his second goal, a really good goal this time. And it's 2-0. Alaves and Quique Sanchez Flores at Mestalla, 89 minutes, and then bang, something happens. Eventually it's 2-1, it's 2-1 in 89 minutes. Javi Guerra had scored 2-1 in minute 89, and then suddenly Chomart gets a close range finish in the penalty area. There are 9 minutes added on, and it's the 95th minute when the ball comes in from Danjuma, of all people, on the left. Hugo Duro is trying to get there and can't get there because John Pacheco naively is wrestling with him. The referee's on the spot and he gives the penalty quite correctly. Now, we probably won't see this footage, but this referee was wearing on his earpiece a tiny little camera, which I know has been trialled in the Bundesliga and Serie A and the Premier League, but it's a body cam, it's a ref cam, which they want to introduce into the television coverage. Because this penalty is given, maybe I've seen worse, but he's surrounded and badgered by Alaves players, unnecessarily so. With Jose Gaya, who had the idiosyncratic award of the season last week for his run into the penalty area before his teammate Largi Ramazani had taken the penalty, he's there kind of working as a referee bodyguard, unasked for, trying to bully the Alaves players into leaving the referee alone because of self-interest, obviously, because he wants the penalty. Referee's not paying any attention to him, but he is paying attention to the fact that he gets grief from Guevara and shows him a second yellow. He then realizes that for the challenge, he's given a second yellow to Pacheco, who's still on the pitch at this stage while they're arguing over the whys and wherefores of the spot kick. Eventually shows him the red card, eventually persuades both of those players to go off, and then Hugo Duro does a dancing up, send the keeper moving one way and finish the other way, which was with his left foot to the keeper's right. And afterwards was told that he has a finish like Gaisca Mendieta, the record penalty taker, never missed for Valencia or for Spain. Wonderful taker, friend of this show. We said, I don't know about that. He said, it's not just Gaisca, Laji Ramazzani does brilliantly with his penalties too. And then the interviewer says to Hugo Duro, you've won the penalty, you've scored the penalty, you've written the theme tune. You're not playing very much. Why not? He said, well, I guess I'll start playing again once Sadiq stops pretending to be Pele. I haven't been playing because he deserves to start and I don't. So rare to hear that kind of discussion. Jose Luis Guzman Mancia, I hope, will be backed by the refereeing committee. He points out that Pacheco, in his report, his formal report, he points out Pacheco was sent off for having tugged a player back in the second half, and then for having pulled a player in the penalty area to deny a goal-scoring opportunity. He was sent off. The comment about Guevara's sending off was second yellow for making technical observations about one of my decisions. I absolutely love that. In case you didn't know it, it'd been 109 matches since Valencia had managed to come from behind at Mestalla and win a match. Last season, in the second half of last season, they were the fourth best team in La Liga. We're only, 8 games into the second half of this season, but right now they're the fifth best team in La Liga. They're 3 points behind the top place team, which is Barcelona in the second half of the season. They are bringing the Corberan magic to the table yet again. I brought as much as you can call this magic to my table. Thank you for being there. Champions League work coming up this week with Jamie Easton, with Pete Jensen, potentially with Scott Minto. Thanks for being there. Love you all.